Good morning. We'll be moving on to the next segment of my story, and I don't know where it's going to go. I never do. But I'm glad to be here with you, and I would love to share some more. So I will begin by saying that I'm just going to kind of close the chapter on speaking about the neighborhood I grew up in, because it was a blessing. There was, as I said, there was no judgment of anybody's background or where they came from or how they were supposed to be. It was all just people coming from all these different backgrounds in different countries. And of course they had judgment. I shouldn't have said that, because they were ethnic people, have temperaments, and they would, have different perceptions of each other, but it wasn't because of their religion or because of their nationality. It was only because of their personalities. So that was great. That was really great, because I really didn't grow up feeling prejudiced against anyone or anything, and I think that was a great gift, and that's helped me tremendously in my work too, because I can talk to people from all different backgrounds. In fact, at one point, and this is interesting, I worked for a Christian dating service. I started out, excuse me, being on the phone, setting appointments for the salespeople, because I had just relocated to California, and I was sharing a space with my daughter, and I needed income, and I wasn't doing my intuitive guidance work or my spiritual work as far as making a living. So I just needed income, and I needed a break from doing readings and talking to people about their personal lives on a day-to-day basis. So I decided to just do this job, and it seemed like a fun thing to do. And it actually was. And as I continued to do it, the owner of the business was impressed with my abilities, so she put me into the sales category, and I was working with people that came in for appointments to see if they wanted to buy the service. And I learned a lot from her. She taught me a lot about boundaries, because I was not something I naturally had, and that was very helpful. And then she sold the business to another couple, and I was in charge. The couple that bought it were not there. Basically I would talk to them on the phone and keep them abreast of what was going on. So I did the sales, and I also became the matchmaker. And most of the people that signed up didn't sign up for matchmaking. They signed up to join for the social reasons. Well, the part that I wanted to mention that was important is that the people that came in were coming in from a Calvary church. It was called Calvary Chapel, and many of them were recovering addicts, and so they needed structure. And the only reason they could come into our dating service was because we had social events, and those were why they were drawn to the dating service, because they weren't allowed to date. The Calvary Chapel had, I guess, their not their religion, but their structure was that as a recovering addict, dating was not good, which of course that made sense in a way, I guess. It didn't to me. And here I was, Jewish, working in a Christian dating service and interviewing prospective clients who came from this very rigid understanding that they couldn't date, and they were in great fear because they didn't want to become addicts again, get back into their addictions, which of course I understood. So I had to speak their language. And again, I did not have, growing up, I had a strong cultural background in the Jewish religion, but not the religious background. I really didn't understand what being a Jewish person, what the Torah was all about. I had gotten a little bit into the Kabbalah, and that made more sense. That was more of, about God, and I was doing some reading on that. And there was a movie with Barbara Streisand, which for the life of me at the moment I can't think of the name of, that was all about the Jewish people who studied the Kabbalah. And so that gave me some information too. So, but I was able to speak the language to these young people who were very, very strong in Jesus Christ and the belief that Christ was their savior. And I didn't have a problem with that either, because I just always found the common denominator, which was God. And because I had been connected to my higher self my whole life, although that's not what I knew it was, or that it was even God, I just knew something resonated within me, and I was able to talk to them, and it was actually very interesting. So even then, I was exposed again to people of all sorts of backgrounds, and it was a constant thing always that I just was always open to everybody's beliefs. And then I went on Facebook, and I started to see that that was a very important thing, not to be judgmental and to be open, and that just confirmed that whatever it was that I needed was always given to me in the time that I needed it. It was very interesting now that I think about it. Then the next phase of my life, I would say, of my growing up years, was, of course, school. And I wanted to stand out. I had the desire to be noticed, because at home I really wasn't. My mother, I haven't mentioned my relationship with my mother, and I'm going to keep it very brief, but my mother was very disappointed in her own life because she wanted to be a concert pianist. I may have mentioned that before. And my grandfather, being a professional musician, discouraged her because he said a woman would never make it in that field. So she never touched the piano again. And that was very, very sad. And of course, I would be angry too, now that I think about it. But I didn't know it as a little girl that that's why my mother was angry. And she was angry. She wanted me to be perfect. And she was angry at me because I wasn't perfect. And so I was in the corner a lot. And I was very, very lonely. I had friends that I played with outside in the apartment building we lived in. And then at my grandmother's, there were lots of kids across the street. There were 2 apartment buildings. So I played with them, and I got exposed to playing kickball and softball, and we put on plays, which was my creation. Of course, that was my idea because I loved that. And we did all sorts of creative things, and I didn't live there yet. I didn't live in my grandmother's house until I was 10. When my grandmother got ill, we moved in there. So until I was 10, from say 5 until 10, when I was old enough to go outside and play by myself and go to school, I was around a lot of children, but at the same time, I was also in the house a lot with my parents, and I was very, very lonely. Because during the day, when my father wasn't home yet, my mother really didn't want to interact with me. We would do dishes, and I would talk to her, and she would just not want to talk to me, and everything that I did she criticized, pretty much. So it was an interesting experience. So of course I wanted to be noticed in school, and I wanted the attention that I didn't get at home. And I was bright, so the teachers liked me, and I would answer questions when they asked questions, and this was in grammar school, of course. And from kindergarten, I started kindergarten very, very young because my birthday is in March, and I was not going to be 5 until March, but I started school at 4.5. School started in September, right? So I started school at 4.5. I just made that deadline, and it was fine. I liked going to school, and I liked learning, and I liked everything about school, and the teachers liked me. So I saw that, I guess, as an avenue for getting some attention and strokes for my ego, which of course I didn't know at the time. It was my ego that I was looking for attention from. And now that I look back, well, even way before now, I knew that my ego needed attention. So I became competitive as I got a little older, and I definitely, wanted to excel, and I was very good at doing that. So I got a lot of what I wanted. But then I got the message at home that I wasn't good enough. So I got conflicting messages everywhere because my father loved me unconditionally, sort of, but he wanted me to get my mother's approval, and I didn't, so that wasn't great. And my aunts gave me a lot of attention. They took me wonderful places. They took me to the theater and to the movies, and they took me to the Waldorf Astoria. I saw that when I was very young. And I know they took me other places too, but I can't think of where at the moment. And my grandfather gave me a lot of attention too, and it was full of love, both my aunts and my grandfather. But my mother, because my mother really didn't like who I was, or it felt that way to me, and nothing took the place of that motherly love. So I was very lonely, and there were a lot of empty spaces, and I kept trying to fill them with attention and with sweets, and it just was an ongoing saga. So I think for today that will be it, and I will be back, and I was able to create a video, a slideshow, and I have a wonderful man named Will who helps me with all that, so I'm going to let him put this audio on that slideshow, so I'm excited about that. And I will be back again. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Bye-bye.